So we're at the Figueroa at one of Chile's finer boat launches. You'll see when we get down there. We're gonna hit down. It's gonna be a whitewater section below us. We're gonna motor up for a while, hit a really cool canyon up there, and then we're gonna just head down and fish all the way through. Mostly big whitewater type stuff, wave train stuff.
A couple good rapids and then some whitewater.
So we're in good hands. This is his second day rowing, so.
First day, yep.
Oh, first?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Let's go.
What are you throwing today, Kelly?
Well, because it was so bright coming up through that canyon, started with a white fathead kitty. It's got really long deceiver tails, got a hair head, kind of like a half dungeon, half silk kitty. So it pushes a lot of water. Yesterday when we were up on the Fuda, it was really, when it was bright, they were really climbing on that action. I love to start with a white fly in the morning. I mean, it sounds stupid as much as I've fished in my life, but it gives me an idea of how I can see how I can work my fly. I can see how I can move it and stuff. It gives me my rhythm, kind of just tells me what I'm, up against for the day. My belief is that they track this vibration, right? And there's a wavelength that's distress, and there's a wavelength that's just something swimming. And so I like to make differing retrieves. So if you notice, I'll go through from a spot where it hits and I move it pretty quick. And then I look for stuff and I try to go quick over top of it. So I'm never just doing one movement. Ooh, there's a little guy looked at it. Because, you're kind of playing when you're looking for reactionary bites. You're kind of, whoa, got all that one. You're kind of going for, you're looking for a distress, because if it's just a fish swimming, it's not as likely to get clobbered as something that's, wrecked a little bit.
Right.
So if you vary your retrieves, a healthy fish isn't going to go, on, off, on, off, on, off. But one that's messed up is going to have a different cadence to its swim. And so whenever I see, get off your line, whenever I see a gap like right there, and then I see it go over it, I kind of kick it, right? And then I let it pause a little bit, not completely. The tail moving is going to always be a visual. But then your wavelength thing, your vibration, which is why I think when the difference between gear and fly, why gear tends to be significantly more productive. One is that the body mass of the lure pushes more. Like you take a spinner, and I used to ask, what's a spinner look like? Well, it looks like a minnow. It's such a crock of, no. It would look like a minnow in a blender. I mean, it's not a minnow, it's that wavelength that the blade puts out. And then you take a crankbait, like a wrap or whatever, and it's got the body mass, and it pushes water, and they all, see that little guy? Get out of there. Little runt. Which I don't care if they're small, big, in between, especially in the morning. If I get to see any activity, I mean, that was 3 fish that were like this long in a row that looked at the fly. I don't know if they were courting it. I don't care. I just get some movement out of that. Whoa, get off of there. This is like having Johnny in the boat. What a chance. There you go. Give me a 2-footer for that. Come on.
Oh, you got her.
Yeah, they're good. Just barely stuck in there. Check that hook though. So basically, in the morning, like this, I got this bigger fly, and again, like with the lures, it's making a vibration down there. And trout aren't really, I mean, in clear water like this, obviously they're visual, but they don't need that. They can go off of it. They can track. You think about it. They can feed in zero visibility. They're nocturnal feeders. So they don't need, but they can feel this. They can feel it forever. And so I try to go, I like to make different wavelengths when it's going through different vibrations and not just be, it's one of the reasons I hardly ever, the only time you'll see me stripping a fly like this is if I'm tired from, if something's happening, or if I've got a tight line situation where it's below me, and that's when I can do it well. But it's a pretty thump, 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 thump movement, right? As opposed to twitching your rod and going every time you see something like off the end of this rock right here, right? So I'm pretty normal here, and then as soon as I get there, I just kind of kick it quick and let it go. And then I tend to pause them a little bit for, oh, I thought that was a fish for a second right there. I tend to pause them kind of like, you know, kind of like it's something that's hurt and it's running and it just hasn't got the juice to keep going. And it gives you, like yesterday when we were on the Fuda, we had so many fish come up on the active, and then it just before it get their paws and just swim around it. And sometimes it would be there and we'd just keep going, and they'd eat it the second time. And you can, if it was just straight away, I don't think you'd get that eat. It doesn't mean you can't just go back to us. You want to do there are days when they just like you know, stripping it, but it's pretty rare that you don't get more on an active retrieve. At least I think so. I mean, there's a million theories out there.
So the way you move your flies, trial and error based on?
Yep, I always start fast. I always start as fast as not like, it's just what I'm doing. That would be fast. And then, how many times am I gonna step on that today? Start fast and I pause, and then if it's not working, like this is a long time for me to stay on one color fly. And so I kind of go through the rotation as quick as I can to see the color I think they're eating. And that's from them showing. And if those three little guys hadn't looked at it, I probably would have already switched it, which I'm gonna do before we go around this corner, I think. And so I go through the color thing, and then, but before I switch up, I usually do what I'm doing right now, which is kind of slowing it down and seeing if they'll come off this, you know, if they don't want it fast and they just want you to swim away. Usually even if that's how it's gonna be, they'll still respond to the color. They'll still come up and at least give you one of those, you know, looks. But I go from fast to kind of in between, like more of a traditional pull the rope thing. And I really very seldom, yesterday we were fishing with Miles, or maybe it was when we were fishing, I can't remember. He said something about hero shooting, you know, just doing the big cast and search, and I never do. I wouldn't fish if that's how it was. I think I like to see, like when we're hitting here, I just don't search with my fly. I'm looking for something the whole time. I just think it's boring as hell. It doesn't mean if it was my only option I would do it, but I much prefer to fish like that ledge coming off of it. I like to think, right, there's my fish, right? I hate just the thought of, it's like throwing out a bobber and waiting for it to go under. I just don't do it.
Shooting
right?
at targets.
Yeah, I'm shooting at targets, as they say, aim small, miss small. And what it does, you know, if all you do is throw and hope, how do you ever identify the water you want to fish, right? And I just find it boring as hell. I mean, I want to throw right there to that bank. I want to come off that little edge and think that that black spot right in front of it is where the fish is sitting, because he's going to run a parallel color change like that, and he's going to eat that thing right there. right?
Yep.
But if all I did was throw it out there as far and sit here and do that, because Braden, the guy on the other side of that camera, Braden loves to swing. He's always giving me shit about not, or stuff about, I get it. I'll get him. Come here. He's always giving me crap about, oh, look at the spots on this thing. How gorgeous is he? He's always saying, how come you don't like to swing? I just don't like to search that way. I mean, I did decades of swinging streamers for steel, or flies for steelhead, right? But even then I was like, one of the more famous steelhead guys in the business, Mike Craig, he called me the goat because I was always climbing on rocks trying to look. He goes, why don't you just swing that run? I said, I don't know, I just want to see what's down there so I'm like got an idea where I'm throwing at. And it's, I don't know, it's how you like to fish.
Right.
I mean, luckily there's more than one way to do this. I generally change this fly pretty, like I said, 5 minutes is a pretty long time to hold one. But this one's unique because we've had enough fish look at it that I'm not too worried. But we're gonna jump into the sun, and I generally match my sky color to start my day. I still go through, I still rotate, and I still do pretty big jumps. Usually it's white to black. You know, I don't go like white to gray or something like that. And so, knowing we're gonna jump into this canyon in a second and be in sunlight, I'm just gonna hold with this. And we did have a few fish look at it, so. There's just a lot of ways to skin a cat, right? We should have asked Brian that last night. He was expounding on how phrases come about. And we didn't ask him where how to skin a cat comes from. But we did find out, got your goat, where that came from. You know, a lot of time those thoroughbreds and those highfalutin horses get kind of heady when you're not like it separate them from the herd, and so they would put a goat in with them to kind of settle.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, that's a puller. All right, look at that little thing. He liked white. That's a puller.
Sweetie.
Oh, that thing's 20 feet down right now. Actually, he's 30 feet down. My head's 30 feet. Ofta. So you get the goat, right before the race, you steal the guy's goat and it makes his horse crazy. Oh, that's a good fish. Come this way, that's a big one. Yeah, he's got a face full of it.
You done?
Yep, he's right here. Well, he was for a second. Hold on. I'm gonna let him. That's right. You're done, buddy. One or more of those little things. Oh, he's going for the 30-foot marking again. Not a bad start. Take that any day. There you go.
Hell yeah. Good fish.
That'll do it. There you go. Well, there's not much getting a hold of him. He might take a fast run. That's a good one. That's all meat. Look at that back. Beauty. Thanking you, buddy.
Oh yeah.
That was cute. Good shit.
Wait.
Oh, that was fun. Did you see him eat it?
Yeah.
Oh,
That
damn.
slid right off that shelf.
Yeah, he just come up.
Was he under the shelf? Came
No,
up.
he came up. Well, what I saw him, he came around like
Right.
that when I saw him.
Yeah.
There was no missing him. Perfect timing. Got my goat. Brian has more worthless information like that is so fascinating. Anybody ever? Doesn't matter what you're talking about. Oh, have you ever heard of this? No.
He's so goddamn funny.
He is. He could be on stage. He ate it on a dead pause too, by the way.
Right.
He was like,
That smaller
Actually, the little one did too.
That smaller one kind of ate on the paws too.
Yeah, he did completely. I was talking to you.
So how does that change your retrieval?
Nothing. I just pause it longer. I mean, they were both after about a 3 foot. Like that's about how far I pulled the fly before that big one ate it. I really like the fly the second it hits the water. No matter what, I want it to hit the water and move. I don't want it to sit there and get inspection time. But after it, ooh, it's that same little guy. After it moves a little bit, then I start playing with it. But the retrieve that, we'll run a flatliner down there today. It was a blast.
What's your opinion on when that fly hits the water, whether it makes a big splash? I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I think it's imperative that it does make a big splash.
Okay.
My personal belief is that if there was a fish at this point and we threw our first fly in there, if that fish feels that, he could be there in less than a quarter of a second. If that's a true predatory, he's coming to get it.
Yep.
But it's your first telltale to tell the fish something, because this is reactionary fishing for all, you're trying to fake them into something, and you're trying to get them to eat when they aren't really made to eat in the daytime. And so the bigger the splash, the better. If it's a suspended fish, if you're worried that you're going to scare the fish, they know it's there. I don't buy into that. They're either going to come get it. If it's suspended and you plop it on his head or right on his dorsal fin or something, you just screwed your cast up. That's all that is. But they're predators. They don't run.
Right.
They're not sheep. They don't run. There's one on it. Didn't go. And so you're just trying to trigger everything bad in his mind. So I don't really buy into, it's not lake fishing where the fish are up and actually actively looking for food that doesn't splat down. You got something sitting there waiting on a meal. If he's hungry, I don't think it's possible to scare one if you're hungry. And all of my diving, right? I did tons of diving. Now I'm a 200-pound white guy coming down the river, and I had never had one run away from me.
Right.
They just look at you like, that scares you. Well, scare Braden. How long have you been guiding?
Oh, this is my 5th year in Montana.
So if you hadn't noticed, in 5 years, there's a lot of opinions in that fly fishing.
Oh yeah.
100
ways to skin a cat.
And everybody catches fish, so. A lot of, damn you. He ran away with it, and they still didn't get him. How far did that fish? I bet that fish came 8 feet minimum, because he was past where my fly was.
Right.
He came, I first saw him, he was right there. And that dead run, so that was exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
He ran, that thing splashed, and he came 8 feet dead wide open. So if I was really quiet, would he have? And then the other thing about that is if you're really quiet, you come in and you're barely, you're just a little minnow swimming away, he gets a lot of inspection time.
Yep.
That fish couldn't, he's on a dead run to kill something.
Whack.
Complete, it's all exactly. I said when that fish had that fly so deep, not deep, but so into so much meat, and I kind of fought it to get it out of the fish. Sometimes you kink that wire, you got to go get it straightened out, and you'll find that if your fly starts fouling a lot it'll always be because of taking it out of the fish. It's probably not coming back. Oh man, look at that juicy stuff back there. I carry, bouncer, what a shit cast. Don't say that word on TV. Oh my God, I gotta get back in there, come on. I carry a 59-cent comb with me, nylon comb when you use synthetics, you're all right. They'll tend to, the front fly will tend to, I want that point right there. That's where I think the fish should be. And that, the synthetics tend to get loosened up, and like dubbing in particular, or real thin chenils, they tend to get loosened up and they go back to they go back and get tangled around your articulation. Take a comb, you just pick it out again so it's flowing around it. But it'll kink your, it will definitely kink your articulation wire, make your fly swim funny. We happen to have more of that in case. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, you should always buy your flies from the Slide Inn in 6-packs. Just kidding. Maybe 3-packs. Oh, little guy. Little guy. I was just fixing to take my coat off. Oh, is he pale? Come here. Come here. Oh, don't fall in the boat. Come here. Oh, got a little blood on him.
What's your opinion on covering water with your fly?
Back to that thing we were talking about, sweeping water or covering, you know, going on big swings with water. I like to hit about, depending on the speed of the boat, I like to stay within 40 feet of this bank. If I'm in the bank, it doesn't matter if it's in the bank or in the middle or whatever, but I like to try to hit every 8 to 10 feet of the bank or center, whatever it is you're shooting at. Because like that fish that came running at us a minute ago, I like to, he came from 7, 8 feet away, right?
Right.
And that's pretty much what I think where I, 8 foot, 6, 8, 10 foot, anywhere in there. If that fly hits right there, I think everything within 6 feet of it knows the fly's there. Especially in this, bright, sunny, flashy disco ball that's out there.
Yep.
And that's why, and again, that's why I'd rather stay, there's theories about boats, they want to stay way away from the bank. So we're going at about 3.5 to 4.5 miles an hour right now. That means we're going, I think it's 4.6 feet per second. So it takes me around 11 seconds to, oh, get off it. Whoa, yeah. It takes me about 11 seconds to do the retrieve, the pickup, and the delivery, right? So that means I could go up to 60 feet down the river in one cast. So if I back off to say 60 feet and I make these big hero casts, and again, like we were talking earlier, I like to hit targets, right?
Yep.
And because like right here, I don't think the fish, it's either gonna be on the push, on the cushion, or it's gonna be right behind this rock right there, right? If I'm out 60 feet from the bank, I'm not gonna get a shot at both sides of this boulder right here where I want it to come around that seam. I'm gonna hit here and I'm gonna be down there before I get my next shot. And when you see people doing it like that, they tend to start doing this like, oh, I want another, and they do this ridiculously long, crazy cast and they're never in position. And I prefer to just sit and hit lots of targets, flies in control, oh, little feller, another time. Lots of little guys. And always looking downstream, right?
Next target.
Next target, here you just kind of take a peripheral glance. Wouldn't think there'd be a fish on the push of that stuff right there. Too much water pushing into that. They're not gonna want to get pushed into it.
Yep. So
I'm looking for the things that straighten out, like right here, right behind it. It's straightened out, the water's going through, lots of rocks they can sit behind those rocks and they don't even know it's there. the current. And in here, we're gonna start going about 7 miles an hour. So now we're gonna go about 9 feet per second, or thereabouts. And so, this is when your head's just going, there's too many targets, right?
Target there, target there.
Yeah. So you gotta start looking for what you think's the best one out here. I mean, my guess is it's gonna be behind that one or that one. You know, all hell breaks loose, right? Where the speed of the current is really on the customer. Or if it's you and me, I'm not going to tell you to pull your head out of your truck. A little bit. That fish came 10 feet out there. He was up in those rocks.
Saw that first splash.
Yeah. And just turned and ran 10 feet straight down there. He's not a target market, but he did what we're talking about. So, I mean, I'm not gonna call out for you, hey, there's a run coming up. I'm gonna tell you to fish, right?
Yeah.
But from my customers, I'm gonna have to try to call out every single spot.
Yep.
And so, bad dismoked. Woo, he didn't do me any good. Slick Willie? I'm thinking chartreuse, baby. I said on these articulated flies, I always pinch the back hook down. And I tend to, I mean, the last thing you want to do when you shoot TV shows is lose a fish. But worse than that is hooking yourself with 2 hooks. You can't get them out. One of my buddies, Dr. Webb, that lives next door to me, kept making really crappy casts all day, and I kept yelling at him. So I finally said, get on the oars. And I got up, and on my very first cast, I stuck him in the chin with a double on the big hole. I stuck him with a double artic. He's got this cleft right here, like Kurt Good looks. I pinned it so hard I couldn't get my scissors between it to cut the stuff. First cast. It's kind of a giant circle, you know, like, you're always looking at targets and you're always trying to say, okay, this is where historically I'd find one here, blah, blah, blah. And so you take the shot you think's historically, because it's all you can go off of is what's happened for you before. And that, you know, there's a lot of same things. Some people, I've got a really good friend, one of the best anglers I've ever known, Trey Brash. And he hates the stacked blonde. It's one of my favorite flies in history. And he swears you can't catch a fish on it. And it's saved my life so many. I've caught more fish over 25 on that fly in guiding in the last 30 years. Hey, get off of that. And so, and he just thinks it's my joke on humanity. It's not even my fly, it's Joe Brooks's fly. Well, his was a blonde originally. Oh, eat it. Oh, you see that?
Oh, hello.
Oh, he's still looking for it. He's under the boat, right in front of us. Wish I'd have seen him a little earlier. He came out of a dead flat right there. Not on it quite like they were, but that's a pretty good fish.
Yeah, that was a decent one.
Maybe if I'd have seen him.
What do you think that one up top was?
I don't know, 20 something, 3, 4 maybe. I don't know if he'd go 4. 23 maybe. He was broad and that was his thing. This is another thing about big rivers. Depending on their depth, I fish a lot of mid-river.
Right.
I mean, banks are fun to shoot at. Did I just hit that thing? They're fun to shoot at, but like the mow and the stone and stuff like that, I run a lot of this. The problem with that is you don't have a target always, and so you tend to do what I just did, huck the thing way out there and hope. But if you get running rivers a lot, like you do, you find those mid-river elevations, guarantees. Just stupid. Well, if you can identify them, you know, I like ledges. I don't care. I think that's the holding area for everything.
Yeah.
And so, and including little shallows like that, lots of times if you go over and look where you were, it'll have an elevation drop where they can sit. Just better water, period. And so you run them when they're low, identify those things, and then go back. As a guide, it makes you a serious hero.
Yeah.
When you say, no, here, yeah, right there, bam, you know, and it works, right?
Right.
And I'm like, how did you see that? Oh, you're the greatest guy in the world, right? Because last week it was 3 foot shallower. And here, this has been a big talk with everybody. My favorite water everywhere in the world, including the big hole beaverhead, everything you fish, is inside bends.
Right.
And I got a slide on the big hole where I draw lines on it for my slideshow or my PowerPoint, and it shows red lines of guys fishing the outside of this enormous long bend like this. Never seen a guy catch a fish on it.
Yeah.
My 2 biggest fish ever on the big hole both came within 100 yards on the inside, and the only people I've ever seen stop and picnic. Now I have a yellow line too on there because it's also where I stop to pee, and I have never seen anybody fish it other than to go out right where the fish always are, usually less than 3 foot, just a little bit of the drop, and then they cast out to the middle of the river. We give fish a lot of credit. I think there's a lot of just, they're just fish. I've never been anywhere in the world where they didn't tell me they don't eat streamers here.
Absolutely.
From Chile to anywhere you've ever been.
Alaska.
Oh yeah, they don't eat streamers here. You're right. You keep pegging that thing. This is where I would suspect those fish are gonna.
Right.
Everybody loves wood, but
I mean, I do like the wood, but
as long as I can get the tail into the wood. These rocks are a little deeper than I would like, but when I can find sets like that, man, that's like where it is right now, and those are almost guarantees for, in particular over on the Yellowstone and the South Fork, when you can find those triple sets or 5 sets, just seems like a guarantee one comes out of it. See him eat it on the paws?
little guy.
Yeah. It's cute when the little ones do it, but it's when you see a giant come up, they'll hover underneath that thing too, man. They'll just sit there.
Shark.
Yep. But you can do a lot with the stripping hand with this because you do the long paw. Look at him.
Rainbows in here.
No, you can't have me. How you like that? Where'd your meal go, you dumbass? Well, Brock, how long we fished? 2 hours?
About 2 hours.
About 2 hours. We started with white. We're kind of doing a experiment day 2 here. We started with white. It was kind of a slow start. Then we got some good fish. Started going through colors. It's really hard to get off the white because it's still working, but we were kind of experimenting through it. We got one really nice fish and a bunch of little guys. We're on the Figueroa, and it can go hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold. So, but we had a great, I mean, you can't ask for more than that on a 2 hour stretch. Just saw one jump behind me. Gonna hit the bottom side. It was spectacular. Bunch of whitewater stuff. And luckily it's his 2nd day rowing. He did pretty good through it. Third day?
Yeah,
First, 2nd, 3rd, whatever. But we're gonna, like I said, we started white. I started white because I like to start white, and then it was just so I can see things in it. And they got on it pretty good. And then we went to chartreuse and white, and not so good, which is kind of surprising when they're on such a hot white bite. And then I went to yellow. We get it, I mean, we have a few look at it, just not really red hot. So that first part was really fun. It was, you know, we had a good amount of activity that kept you thinking the whole time, questioning, and that's what I really like, is just seeing what happens. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's absolutely spectacular scenery here. I mean, just unprecedented, and hope it helps you out.